I'm Eli. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Desmos, and I want to tell you a little bit about Desmos and the philosophy behind it, and hopefully ways that it could actually be useful to you in your classroom with your students. So, Desmos got its start about 7 years ago, completely by accident. And the backstory there is that I was a tutor in Westport, Connecticut. Um, Education has been my thing for a very long time, and for a long time, I thought the solution to education was tutoring. It's one-on-one help, and this is from reading papers that showed how impactful those were. And one of the things that I realized very early on with my students who I was tutoring was that by giving them a way to connect representations and to play around with the mathematics themselves, to put them in the driver's seat, that concepts that had formerly been really difficult became much, much easier to picture. But the other realization I had is that I wanted this to be in the hands of every single student, not just in the hands of the kids that I was tutoring in Westport. And so at the beginning of 2012, launched the Desmos graphing calculator and committed from the first day that we wanted it to be free, that we wanted it to be something that every student could access wherever they were. And if I'm being honest, I had no idea that it was going to be a company. I had no idea that people were going to want it. And within a few days of launching it, and had thousands of people who were using it, and we realized that uh, we'd found a really fundamental pain that a lot of people were feeling, which is that graphing is such a critical part of so much of mathematics. And handheld calculators were hard to use, but more importantly, they were really expensive. And this was a big barrier to a lot of students who wanted to explore math. And so for the last 6 years, we've just been laser focused on this idea of making this tool that anyone can use on any device that they have. You just go to it in the browser, and at the same time trying to make it as easy and fun to use as possible. And we measure this really carefully, and we watch students use it. And my favorite thing is when you put Desmos in front of a fourth or a fifth grader who is just learning this stuff for the first time, and they type in something and it works. And then they feel like they're in charge. They feel like they're the owner of the mathematics, not that the mathematics is this black box that isn't for them. One of our company values is this idea of works every time. We think it's just so important, especially for students who are lacking in math confidence, that they come in, they do something, and they feel like this tool is working with them as opposed to being a scary, complicated thing that they need to read a substantial instruction manual for. Some fun statistics about what we've seen happen with our success of that. This school year, about 50 million people are going to use Desmos from around the world. We're now built into the state exams in 24 states, and we're built into the digital SAT, and all of this with this idea of making the tool that students are able to practice on for free at home in the safety of wherever they want to be learning math, that it's the same thing that they use equitably when they come into a high stakes environment. So that's been really gratifying. We've also since expanded to support students and teachers in other ways. So we now have a team of just some of the strongest educators that we were able to find, led by a gentleman, Dan Meyer, with this idea of trying to build classroom activities that let students be the creators, let them think creatively, let teachers have deep insights into how students are thinking. So kind of the antithesis of every student in a box typing numbers into boxes, and instead having students learning as a group, but being the ones who are actually creating the mathematics as they go. So all of that is also free on teacher.desmos.com. Would love if you checked out those resources, and if there's anything that you think we can do to make Desmos work better for you or for your students, send us a note. We're on Twitter and we're on email, and this is how we improve.